scale up to anything bigger than like a backyard. You need a water source that's autonomous and ecologically sensible. And in most places, well, that means rainfall. See, rainfall is your cleanest water. It comes down from the sky, just crystal clear. It's also very reliable. And I don't mean reliable in the fact that it's always there, because, let's face it, it's not. Right? Farmers are always talking about rain. But it is reliable in that you're always going to get it eventually. And even over a period of a year, it's pretty stable, really, all things considered. It's also the easiest water to get. They're agricultural wells, and what most people do is they just dig deep and pump up. And while we have one of those, I don't like that it's our primary water source, because it took God 10,000 years to get that water down there, and we just pump it up like it's nothing. And to me, it feels like oil, and it's a readily available energy source, or in water's case, it's a readily available water source that's just there. And it should be highly, to use it, you need to be really disciplined. Because in its current quantity, it's enough to make you think, well, there's enough for everyone forever. And we know that's not the case. There's aquifers in California that you got to dig 800 feet down now to get to it. Right? It's not forever. It never was. So for me, that's what rainwater is. That's the water that you get constantly, that you get reliably, and it's cleanest, and it's easy to deal with. You don't have to pump it up. You don't need a lot of high-tech stuff. You're getting gutters and a tank and some PVC, and you have a great system. So how do you know how much rain you're going to get? Well, first step is you got to figure out your annual rainfall. Here in Seguin, that's about 34 inches a year. So then you need to figure out your roof size. And that's basically like a top-down picture of your roof. So in other words, it's not this amount, like the triangle, but it's the flat amount, right? So if you go to Google Maps, you can get a top-down view of your house, and you can use the measure distance tool. Just right-click measure distance, move it around. Basically, I try and turn it into big squares, and then I just add up the area, right? So I know my garage is like 1,500 or 1,200. Yeah, the rest of the house 1,500. I don't know. It's something like that. Then you add the shed, and you can put both of them together. I'll show you how we did that using underground lines. So once you have your total square footage, for us it's about 3,500, 4,000, something between there. Then you can just do some simple multiplication. You can figure out how much you're going to get per year. So every 1 inch of rainfall on 1 square foot gives you 0.623 gallons. That means you take your square footage that you just figured out, multiply it by 0.623, multiply that by the number of inches per year. And that's your total amount. It means any amount of usage you're gonna get out of that rain needs to be less than that amount. Okay, so next, so you know how much water you're gonna bring in. The next is how much you're gonna use. So I have two 40 by 100 foot beds. Basically that's 2,500 gallons, I think, per year. And this is a very rough estimate, because the problem is that you're going to, like some parts of the year you're going to use less, some parts you're going to use way more, some parts you're not going to use any at all. And back when I was kind of really watching this in San Antonio, 2,500 gallons a year is about right for this. So it's basically like half a gallon a week per plant as an average, as like a year-long average. Okay, so sometimes you're gonna use more, sometimes you're gonna use less. Do that. Animals are actually super, like the cows don't need anything because they have their own lakes and stuff or ponds that they can drink out of. Chickens need like 2,000 gallons a year. I think I put it under, maybe less. They don't need very much, right? Like a gallon of water will provide enough for like 8 chickens per day. So that's plenty, right? So you can do the math there. 8 birds per gallon. Most of the water is actually spent cleaning, like, because you got to scrub out their water tanks and stuff. So that's actually where most of your water ends up going. After you do that, after you figure out what all your systems are going to be, you add that all up and you kind of figure out what your gallons are and put that in the spreadsheet. And then finally, you have to model your rainfall patterns. Where I live, most of the rain that I need to catch, that I need to be absolutely sure to catch, will happen in big storm events in the summer. And that's where you want to err for being able to catch it. So I want to be able to catch a 6-inch storm. That's my goal. Here's the other thing, like there's 2 ways. If you're really diligent and rainwater is going to be your primary source, then you don't need as big a tank because you're going to be using it all the time, right? You don't want to sit on that stuff like gold, right? You want to use it because more is going to come. So don't waste it, because if your gutters catch and your tank's full, it's just going to shoot it out the back, right? Why did you even do this? So use the water, right? So we opted for a 20K tank, and you can kind of see in the you got to see in the spreadsheet that of why about 20K works for us. Basically, you start with your biggest rainfall month, which is May for us. So that's month 1, June, July, August, blah, blah, blah. It goes to December, rolls over, January, February, March, April. And so that way you're positive, right? So the most rainfall we get is in May. So I figured out that based on the gallons I need for the garden, animals, and orchard, and irrigation for the house, and just general loss, stuff like that, that I'm gonna need about 3 inches of water, 3 inches per average per month, right? So that means on May, I'm gonna take in an average of 5, I'm gonna use an average of 3, so I got 2 inches left, which is 4,200 gallons. In my system. Your system will have different math because you'll have different rain and different house and everything. So then you follow the chart and you enter in like what my average usage is per month and my average gains. And then I have a little thing in there where you can say also calculate for a buffer of this big, and that's 6-inch rainfall. All the gutters run underground into a central main line that's a 6-inch drainage pipe. So you got 4 inches gutters down to a main line drain of 6-inch. And then you of course can size that out if you really want to, but truth be told, you can probably stick with that. There's only a few sizes of pipe to use. Let me give you a shot of the backyard so you can see. So all these gutters, that one and over there, they all go underground. Let's see if we can even see it. Put you up high. Yeah, you can see where the, right behind that tree, they dug a ditch, ran a trench, and it goes all the way through the chicken yard over to that tank underground, then comes up out of the ground and into the tank. It's pretty cool, huh? So the reason that you can have water coming up out of the ground and into the tank is because the top of that tank is lower than the gutter, right? And so water will find level. So where water is actually level is going to be right where that 90-degree elbow bend is. Where it levels off and goes down, that's where the water is. So there's water standing in that column, right? But there's not going to be any in the gutters. Those are going to be empty. But let's see, where's a good pipe? Hear that gutter pipe? There's water probably 2/3 of the way up that. That's going to be at the same height from sea level, the same height as that silver pipe was in the drain. It's pretty cool, huh? but it's all one closed system, right? So it's just like one big bucket. It just happens to be a snaky tube. So you got your rainwater in your tank. Now you want to use it. Well, how does that work? Well, inside that tank, suspended most of the way, I think it's it's like 6 inches off the ground, is a pump hanging in the middle of the air. And you actually, the power line there that you can see, it's kind of square on the tank from this angle. That's basically where it is. And so it kind of hangs down the side and pumps out. And it's pretty powerful. It's like I think it's like a 1 horsepower, which is way overkill in my opinion. But it is what it is. So that pump's gonna pump out of the tank, and then you can have it run anywhere you want. So we have a couple of outputs I'll just show you here. Down at the ground at the base, there's just a regular old spigot. Oh, got y'all wet. And then here, this right here, this is an emergency. In other words, if there's some catastrophe and you need to drain the tank, you can undo this. You have to dig it up, but you can undo it. And that is the actual lowest point. So you could pump everything out of there. Connected to that is this gate here. And that turns off the spigots. So what we have is we have running back across the fence line. You can kind of see it right out there, right there. We have 2 spigots, and that's the kind of the primary use that we're gonna have. And those attach to a line that goes in the same trench that they dug the drain line. So same hole, 2 pipes. We also have a well filtration system. I can talk about that later. But down here, if you see right there, that little white pipe stem that's sticking up and capped, that's another runoff of this tank. And the plan that I have is to tie that in with a couple of, those little valves, so that I can pick between water sources. So I can use rainwater primarily, cut it off, and then use well water as an emergency if it gets too low. And it is just dumping rain. This is so amazing. I can't wait to get out and see the fill in the tank. It's gonna be so great. It dropped 1 inch in 20 minutes and it's still going. Like we're in flash flood territory, boys. I don't know if you can hear this. The sound that it makes is just amazing. Everything's like perfectly still and wonderful. Yeah, it's like completely whited out on the screen. I don't think. Oh yeah, look, this huge branch fell. Totally smashed my gutter. That, like on the first rainstorm, it's pretty outstanding. Smashed my fence, so I gotta fix that this weekend. Let's see what we can see out here. Oh, it's looking nice. So we're kind of done with rain for a while. It's gonna be super hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and drain these lines. This is my first time doing it. It's pretty exciting. I'm like standing right by the tank, and there's right there a drain line you can see, and this little valve. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that. Whee! Nice. And that is that. I'm gonna shut it before it, let it percolate through. So I'm gonna wait for that to soak in, then pull it again, get the rest of the water out. And it's important that you don't have it, as the pressure drops, it's gonna wanna go back up the pipe. So it's important to shut it off and leave water in the pipe so that you have positive flow this direction. Here, talk with Ron, Harvested Rain Solutions. They're super awesome. Couldn't be happier. Crazy professional, huge crew, big equipment. Really outstanding work. Better than I could have hoped for. Yeah, again, super happy. Beyond thrilled, actually. Beyond thrilled. But yeah. All right, say goodnight, geese. Say goodnight. They're so cute.